What I'm here to talk with you folks today about is the transportation industry in general. Now, how many people here has been to a job interview? All right. How many people here has been to multiple job interviews? Who here has gone to a job interview for a job that you really, really wanted and you just hoped that you were going to get? How many people did not get that job? All right. It's frustrating, isn't it? The whole time that you're, trying to find that job that's going to be a good fit for you, you finally find that company, you submit your resumes, you make the phone calls, you harass them, you nag them, you finally get the interview, you go in there and you're just selling yourself to this employer, trying to explain to them why they need to hire you, what you're going to bring to that company. And it's frustrating when it doesn't happen, because the company has 100 other people just like yourself applying for that one job. And they're going to pick and choose, and you're waiting on that phone call back, did I get the job, did I get the second interview? Now, as frustrating as that is for you as the job seeker, think about how nice that is as the employer. You have everybody coming to you trying to get that one job. It's easy for them. Wouldn't it be nice if those roles were reversed, where it was easy for you, where all you had to do is show up, and you have 5, 6, 7, 15 companies trying to convince you to come work for them. It's a total role reversal. And that's the reality in transportation. It is completely different than any other career field out there. Employers actively seek you out. That's what I do day in, day out as a driver recruiter. I'm not a talent acquisition specialist or any of those other fancy titles that companies have. I'm a recruiter. I actively seek out people to come drive for our company. Day in, day out, that's what I do all day long. I use every channel available to me. Social media, everything from Facebook to LinkedIn, all the job boards. I actively go through searching people's resumes. And then, I find a resume for someone that has a CDL Class A living in this area that I think might be a good fit for my company. I actively reach out to them. So here you are. You're walking down the street, or you're spending time with your family, or you're working for another employer. And now you're getting phone calls from recruiters. Hey, this is so-and-so from company ABC. You ever think about making a driver switch? Let me tell you what we can offer you. It's a complete role reversal when it comes to transportation. And that's one of the things that a lot of people just don't understand about this industry. If you have a Class A CDL and a good driving record and good standing, it's a meal ticket. Everybody wants you. And everybody will bother you over and over and over again to come work for them. There's a lot of things about the transportation industry that just a lot of people don't understand. It's not a normal career field. This isn't a 9-to-5 job where you clock in and day out. You're typically not home every night. There's a lot of things that, when it comes to transportation and being a commercial vehicle driver, that some people just aren't in a position in their lives to make that transition. It does require a lot of work. It's a lot more than just driving a vehicle. There's all kinds of regulations and government oversight, what you can and cannot do, how long you can and cannot work, how long you can and cannot drive, when you've got to take a break, how much time you've got to sleep. So it's highly, highly regulated. But that's because you're driving a very large vehicle on the public roadways. The biggest thing that I run into when it comes to people getting into this industry, and I go to a lot of the CDL trucking schools, and I talk to people that are actively pursuing a commercial driver's license, is the lifestyle adjustment. Most people are not used to working a job where you're going to be, kissing the family goodbye on Sunday and I'll see you on Friday, and you're gone throughout the week. That's called regional trucking, where you're heading on a Sunday and getting back on a Friday or a Saturday. And you're away from home, so if there's the car won't start, the sink is leaking, Johnny fell down, you have to go to the hospital and get stitches, you're not going to be there for that. And that's a lifestyle adjustment that a lot of people just are not in a position in their personal lives that they're willing to go ahead and make that. what's called over-the-road driving companies. These are, companies where you're gonna be basically living in the truck. You're getting on the road and you're hitting the road, you'll see home in 4, 5, 6 weeks. And you're just out that entire time, going all over the entire country. And then you have what most people getting into the industry want and desire, which would be a local position where you're home daily. It's more of a normal type of career field where you're going to work each day, you come home each day, things like that. So trucking, the transportation industry has those 3 different lifestyles, and the biggest thing that people have got to understand when you're getting into this industry is that as an entry-level driver just getting into the business, you're going to be offered positions with a regional or an over-the-road company. Trying to get that local job where you're going to be home every single day, it generally requires anything from a year to 2 to 3 years worth of driving experience before a company's going to hire you for something like that. So that's one of the things that people have got to understand when it comes to getting into this industry and thinking, hey, you know what, I'm going to go be a CMV operator. I'm going to go drive a truck for a living. And they think that they're just going to get that, I'm going to be home every single day, and that's not the case. So that's one of the things that people really have got to understand before they start pursuing a commercial driver's license and looking at a career as a professional driver. It can be tough. Not everybody can adjust to that lifestyle. But if you're in that position where you can, I'm telling you right now, this is a meal ticket. If you bought it, a truck bought it or brought it. All right, now think about that. Every single thing you own, everything you have ever bought in your entire life has been on a truck. You want to talk about career field stability? The day that this country does not need truck drivers, we've got a lot bigger problems on our hands. We're talking full-blown zombie apocalypse at that point, right? Think about it. If all the trucks decided, hey, you know what, today we're not going to drive, this country would come to a screeching halt immediately. That is how important the transportation industry is to our society. That's what you call job security. You will never, as long as you take care of your license and you don't have the accidents, you don't have the tickets, you will never be in a position where I can't find a job. Never. That's something that most people go throughout their entire lives never having a clue about what that feels like, that job security. If you have a Class A CDL, license in good standing, you could quit your job today, make one phone call, and be working somewhere else tomorrow. You can have same-day offers. That's how in demand this industry is when it comes to truck drivers. It's hard work. It's a lifestyle adjustment. Like I said, most people don't understand what it means to be away from home, to be away from the family and things like that. For me, it was a very easy transition. I was in the military for 12 years. So, for me, wherever I laid down that night, that was home. That's just the lifestyle that we lived in the military. So getting into transportation, where, I was gone during the week and home on the weekends, I was like, what, I get to come home every week? Really? I thought that was great. So it was a natural transition for someone like myself. Pay, benefits, folks, in this area, when it comes to truck drivers, you're looking at anywhere between $50,000 to $70,000 a year. Anywhere in that neighborhood. Benefits. I could talk about what my particular company offers, but you're looking at a full range of health care, medical, retirement, vacation. All these things are being offered for truck drivers. And you would think to yourself, well, why are truck drivers so in demand? Well, again, everything you have ever bought in your entire life has been on a truck. It requires a lot of drivers to keep this country moving. And it really comes down to, are you in a position to be able to make that transition, that lifestyle? Clean driving record. Folks, you've got to keep a clean driving record. Even a few speeding tickets, parking tickets, failure to stop at a stop sign. Just a couple of those can make you unemployable. you've got to have a spotless driving record. You can have a couple little blemishes here and there, but you got to keep it clean. Things like, you know, DUIs, reckless driving, you know, racing, you're going to be virtually unemployable for years after something like that happens. Companies are very, very, very strict when it comes to a driving record. How much driving experience do you need to have? How long do you have to have a driver's license before you can get a commercial driver's license? Doesn't matter. You know, if you have a regular operator's license, you go to an accredited CDL school, you get your Class A CDL, you're hireable. You know, you don't have to have years of driving experience in a personal vehicle in order to be qualified to work for a company. You know, they're looking for you know, do you have the skills to pass the CDL exam? You know, do you actually have the credentials? Folks, you know, I've hired everybody from 22 years old, you know, and I had believe it or not, I had an 80-year-old, he was 81, came in, he had driven for our company back in 1969. Right? I wasn't even born yet, and this guy was driving a truck for our company. And he's like, you know, I retired, I sold my truck, he was an owner-operator, you know, had been retired for about 9 months and couldn't take it anymore. He said, I feel like I'm ready to die. I don't have a reason for living. I just want to start driving even if it's part-time again. Folks, those type of opportunities are out there, full-time, part-time, weekends. You know, it just comes down to, you know, do you have the skill, do you have the desire to go ahead and do this type of work? Like I said, it's a transition. It's not easy for everybody, but it just comes down to what's important to you as an individual. You know, are you looking for the income? Are you looking for the retirement? Are you looking for the benefits? Are you looking for that job stability? So those are all the different types of things that the transportation industry will actually offer an individual. You know, young, old, men, women, you know, it doesn't matter. It comes down to, can you safely do the job? You know, companies will line up trying to hire you. You know, it just comes down to, what are your thresholds? What are you as an individual looking for? You know, when it comes to the incomes, again, you know, in this area, you're looking anywhere between 50 and 70,000 as an operating range in that neighborhood. Local positions where you're actually getting an hourly paycheck, generally speaking, in this area, you're looking at low end about $15 an hour. High end that I've seen has been about $24 an hour for a local truck driver. But again, most of those jobs are requiring between 2 to 3 years worth of verifiable experience, where you can demonstrate that you work for a company or out over the road and was able to operate a commercial vehicle without getting into accidents and without racking up any type of speeding tickets or any, you know, other type of negative incidents like that. What does it take to get a CDL? There's a lot of programs out there. Some of the local schools here in the area, the two most local schools would be TDS Technical Institute down there in Diamond, Ohio, down by Lake Milton. Then you got Newcastle School of Trades just right across the state line in Pulaski, Newcastle, PA. You know, when it comes to the training required, generally speaking, anywhere between 4 and 7 to 8 weeks. 4 weeks is a very, very fast class. I try to avoid the term crash course because that's never a good thing in this business. But it's very accelerated, where you can get the basic skills to pass your CDL exam. 8 weeks definitely is a little bit longer, and it's a little more thorough. You get a little more behind the wheel time. And there's also weekend classes that are available. For those of you that might be working and say, hey, look, you know, I'm working a regular job Monday to Friday. You know, I don't have time to go to school full time. I can't take 2 months off. I got to have money coming in. They have weekend classes where you can actually go. Those weekend classes generally take about 6 months worth of weekends to build up enough hours to be able to pass your state CDL exam. So they have options available to you when it comes to paying for these things. These are regular accredited schools, so you can always use the student loans, you know, financial assistance. There are state government programs that are available for retraining money. Ohio Means Jobs does a really good job of helping people out to get their school paid for so they can get it into the industry, and they don't incur any type of debt. If you did take a student loan out, if you did have some debt, companies like mine will repay that for you. I've had people come in with over $7,500 worth of tuition costs that they incurred to get their CDL license, and we'll pay it back. Please come work for us, come drive for us. We need drivers. That's really what the industry is willing to do at this point, is bringing people on and doing everything that we can to attract drivers. Again, it's the complete role reversal that none of you are really used to ever experiencing, is having everybody come to you and say, please come work for us. And let me tell you all the reasons why I want you to come work for us. So it is that role reversal. Student level drivers, companies, like I said, regional and over the road, out for the week, out for 2 weeks, 3, 4, 5, 6, depending upon what your particular flavor is there. Those are all available. There's more jobs out there for an entry-level driver that you can shake a stick at. They are absolutely everywhere. But again, it's going to come with that little asterisk of, hey, you're going to be gone for the week, or you're going to be gone for 2, 3 weeks at a time. So you've got to keep that in your mind. But if you're in a position where you could actually do something like that, you say, you know what, my lifestyle would allow that. I don't have anything holding me home. I don't have anything tying me down. I didn't go make money. I need a good job. Man, those opportunities are out there. We're not a large company. You've got everything from your mega carriers that have thousands of trucks and drivers to your little small mom and pop operation that might have 1 or 2 or 3 trucks. We're in that medium category at Strimbu. We're operating about 100 drivers, about 100 different trucks. We've been around for almost 100 years now. Since 1926, we've had truck drivers, hauling freight all over the eastern half of the U.S. So again, you think about everything that we've been through as a company: the Great Depression, World War II, the collapse of the U.S. steel industry, and we were a flatbed company at that point. That's what we did with steel hauling. The collapse of the U.S. steel industry, the Great Recession in 07 and 08, we're still here. We still need drivers. We have drivers that are still out there making money. And those are the types of opportunities that are available to you in this industry. It just comes down to, are you in a position of saying, hey, my driving record's okay, I'm going to be able to be insured by a company. Am I in a position where I can leave home for a week at a time or 2 weeks at a time and adjust to this type of lifestyle? But if you're in that type of position, this is a great industry to get into. When it comes to the amenities in the trucks, these are not your grandfather's trucks anymore. These things are nice. You get in there, they've got auxiliary power units, so you don't even have to idle the vehicle when you're stopped. You've got full power, TV, guys will put, satellite inside those things, where, you're watching the NFL Network on a Sunday afternoon. Microwaves, refrigerators. They have all those amenities inside these trucks now, so they are very comfortable. You're not living on the road like an old school truck driver used to. There used to be a rough lifestyle. Now these trucks have, all the comforts that you would need, all the nice little things that you, would need on the road just to make life bearable. So that you can go spend a week or 2 on the road, and it's just, it's a trip. As opposed to, quote, work. So it is nice in that aspect as well with the modern equipment. So when it comes to the industry, like I said, there's a lot of those different options. Everything from the mega carriers to the small carriers. The income is definitely there. You've got a wide range of home time available. But just understand that being a truck driver, it's not like just driving your car. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. There's a lot of purposeful thought that goes into planning your trip, planning your clock. Because like I said, you're only allowed to drive so many hours a day. You're only allowed to drive so many hours a week. You've got places to be and times to be there, so you've got to plan your trips out, when you're gonna be making your stops, where you're gonna be getting fuel, where you're gonna stop for a shower, where are you gonna spending, you know, where you're gonna be parking overnight. And these are all things that come into consideration, so it's not just like, hey, let's go down to DC this weekend and you just hop in the car and go. There's a lot more thought that goes into it, so, you know, that's one of the reasons why we call it professional drivers. You know, you've got a high degree of skill to be able to maneuver these large vehicles. You have to be able to drive safely. Everybody else out there on the road with what we call four-wheelers in the little cars, they're out there trying to kill themselves because there's no other reason for them to drive the way that they do. These large vehicles, they do not stop. They are quite big. They've got a lot of mass. You're talking about 80,000 pounds. You know, that thing does not stop on a dime. It doesn't maneuver like a car. It takes a lot of active driving, so you're not just bebopping down the road with your mind wandering, thinking about what you're going to be having for dinner. You know, so it is a job. It is work to drive these vehicles. But if it sounds like something that's, you know, a possibility for you, this is a great industry to get in. Like I said, folks, you know, as long as you take care of your license, you'll always have a job opportunity, a job offer. Everybody wants you to come work for them, and they will actively pursue you. Like I said, I contact people all the time right out of the blue. You know, they've never heard of me. They didn't put an application where I'm at, but I see that they have a Class A CDL. I get their contact information. I'll do a little bit of cyber stalking if need be. You know, I'll cross-reference someone's resume with an email address. Next thing you know, I found their LinkedIn account. I found their Facebook account. I will blow their stuff up. They'll get an email from me. They'll get, you know, 3 private messages. If I can track down their phone number, I'll call their phone number. You know, if someone's driving for another company and I see that they're engaged to somebody on Facebook, I'll look up their fiance and I'll message them. Hey, have them call me. I got a job opportunity. That's what I have to do every single day to find drivers. Now think about you being a driver with that Class A CDL, how nice that must be to have everybody want you. Totally different. Totally different. But like I said, it's a lifestyle. It's not for everybody. So it really comes down to, you know, your personal situation, if it's something that you think that you could get into and deal with and tolerate. I know I'm supposed to go about 45 minutes, but let me ask you guys, what all questions you folks have? I know there's got to be some questions.
All right. My wife's a truck driver. Well, was a truck driver. She works for Falcon. Things didn't work out there. Now, I can't drive truck because I have diabetes. And I'm going to, after I'm done here, I'm going to go get my diesel tech certification.
Mm-hmm.
So with do you guys have a diesel tech program where you work?
Most trucking companies are going to have some sort of maintenance contract. Our maintenance is all contracted through a company named Ryder, you know, real big company. But whether it's an in-house maintenance program or a maintenance contractor program like what we have, there's a lot of demand just for the diesel technicians in association with trucking. So while we don't actively hire for any of the maintenance positions, a lot of companies do because they're doing their own in-house maintenance.
Okay.
So there's a lot of opportunities tied to the transportation industry just through the diesel technology.
You said around the eastern United States, y'all don't go west or nothing like that?
My particular company, we were operating the eastern half of the U.S. with the freight that we're moving. We have a flatbed division and then a refrigerated grocery division. About 70-75% of our freight is hitting the East Coast and the Northeast, everything from Baltimore, D.C., all the way up into Maine. And about 25-30% is going down south and into the Midwest. But, you know, like I said, we're a regional company, so, you know, our freight is designed that we're servicing our local customers, taking their product and pushing it outbound at the beginning of every week. And that just means we've got to get our drivers back at the end of the week so they can get reloaded and do it all again the following week. Not every company has a business model set up like that. You know, you start talking about your major carriers that do the coast-to-coast stuff. Yeah, they go absolutely everywhere. Generally speaking, most of those are not a home weekly. Most of those are every other week to, you know, 6 weeks. It just depends upon the carrier and what type of account you're getting on. So if you've got the full spectrum out there, one of the most difficult things you guys face when it comes to getting into this industry and choosing a carrier is finding that good fit for you. I talk about that a lot about guys that apply with us. We're very selective in our hiring process, just making sure that people are going to be okay with what we do as a company. Because there's something that's called driver turnover in the industry. Driver turnover is, what percentage of the drivers do you have that end up leaving your company? And, companies, we track this stuff on an annual basis, seeing what our yearly driver turnover is, because that gives me an idea of how many people we've got to recruit to replace everybody that leaves. What's bad for companies is great for the drivers when it comes to this business, because driver turnover, when companies have driver turnover, that means that there's a lot of opportunities for drivers to go elsewhere. So they talk about it being a driver's market. A lot of your large carriers, their driver turnover is 90, 95, 100%. Some of the carriers have 105, 110% turnover. Now think about that. That means in order to keep 100 trucks on the road, you have to hire 110 drivers every single year. That's a lot of people leaving that company, all right? That's an indication of several different things, but generally speaking, when companies have high turnover rates, it's because their driver satisfaction is a little bit low. And drivers say, hey, you know what, I don't need to put up with this, I could go somewhere else and be treated better or get paid better, something along those lines. Our driver turnover at Strimbu is very, very low. Like I said, competitor companies are 95, 100%, ours is at 25. I've got a lot of 20, 25, and 30-year drivers that have been here. My most tenured driver's been here continuously since October of 1980. How many of you weren't even born yet? Right? Yeah, so we're a very, very stable company in that aspect. But it just comes down to, again, what people are looking for. If someone wants to go coast to coast, and look, I've talked to a lot of guys in CDL schools, they're like, you know what, I'm young, I want to travel, I want to see the country, and this is the perfect way for me to get a paycheck to do it. All right, well, I'm not the good fit for you. I mean, you want to go with a carrier that's going to go coast to coast. Just understand that it's not like being a tourist where you're sightseeing. I mean, you've got places to be and times to be there, so you get to see everything, but you get to see through the windshield. Not a lot of time to stop and smell the roses along the way. But, you do get to see those things that are out there. What other questions?
I actually have another one.
Yeah.
Now, with you guys, are you guys a contract company? Do you have, because I know when my wife worked for Falcon, she got hired out of TDDS, and TDDS only works with non-contract companies, and when she got hired in there, they were a contract company. So she had to stay there for 120 days, and if she didn't, she has to pay a $1,000 fine.
No.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, because what happened was, when she was working there, her district manager got her in trouble and got her fired. So now she has to pay that $1,000 in order to pay the company off. This was for training fees. While she was, and that's what I think it's a joke. But, and I mean, in my family, my whole family's been truckers. So, I kind of know my way around.
Right, you're familiar with some of the, like I said,
she was telling me this, and I'm like, that's a joke.
So there's such a wide diversity of companies out there. Everybody has their own little niches and their own little opportunities. There's some companies out there where, let's say, you want to get your CDL, but, no matter what you tried, you just can't get the money to go to the TDDS or Newcastle or Roadmaster or Great Lakes or any of the other CDL schools around here. Some of your big mega carriers actually have CDL training programs where you go, they will train you, you will get your CDL license through them, and then you work for them afterwards. It's a carrier school. Good and bad. It's good if you've got no other way to get a CDL, and hey, you got your CDL, and then you're going to work for them, and then those are contract carriers because they did invest a lot of time and money into getting your CDL license. You've got to work for them for 6, 9, 12 months afterwards. and you're under a contract where you're gonna work for them, they're gonna recuperate their training costs that they invested in you. The drawback is they don't pay very well during that 6, 9, 12 months. In fact, they pay very, very, very low. But that's because you use them to get your CDO license, so they want to recuperate that back out of you as far as an investment goes. And then if you do leave early, then yeah, you're in a contract, then you've got to buy your way out of it.
Well, the thing with that is she got her CDL from TVS, and then she has, you know how when you go to a company, you have to do the company training, they teach you the basics or whatever. Well, they were saying that $1,000 was for training expenses with the company, instead of, which I mean, whatever.
Yeah, that's, you know, each company's gonna have their own company guidelines
Yeah.
and rules and policies. You know, I'm not familiar with that particular policy that they had. I don't know if they still do or not. But that just comes down to doing your research when it comes to companies, because like I said, guys, this isn't one of those career fields where only one company's gonna offer you a job and you gotta jump on it. Everybody's gonna offer you a job. Everybody wants to talk to you. So you can actually, again, that role reversal. You know, a normal company is gonna interview 50 people for a job, and then they're gonna sit down and talk about, you know, the benefits of hiring, you know, candidate 1, 2, and 3 versus, you know, the candidates 49, 48, and 50. And then try to weed it down, and now you're left with having to do that with all the different companies, because you're gonna have offers from, you know, every company imaginable, and you gotta figure out what's gonna be good for me, who's offering what's the fine print. So there is a little bit of research that is gonna fall onto you when it comes to choosing a carrier. Because everybody is gonna be a little bit different. I mean, that's some fine print. You know, we don't do any of the contract stuff, so.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is she signed the paperwork that she had to sign, and it was in fine print, and the only person that seen it was the girl that she went to school with that worked there as well. Yeah, so.
Anything else?
I say, I remember my uncle and them drove trucks a lot, but they just drove constantly. I heard it's like a recommendation for them to pull over and get a certain amount of sleep now. Or?
Actually, now it's not a recommendation, it's a straight regulation. We have what's called hours of service. As a professional truck driver with a CDL, you're only allowed to drive 11 hours a day. And then you have to take a 10-hour break. Okay, you have to. You can be what's called on duty 14 hours out of the day, where you could be having your truck loaded, unloaded, things like that, where you're not actively driving. And you know that you're limited to 14 hours. Out of that 14 hours, only 11 of it can be driving time, and then you have to take a minimum of a 10-hour break in order to reset that whole clock to be able to begin again the next day. So it is highly regulated when it comes to the amount of time off that you have to have between driving and work and stuff like that. And it's not an option for the driver to say, hey, I feel good, I can keep on going. You know, I just slammed 3 Red Bulls in a 5-hour power. No, it doesn't work that way, guys. When you're told to get off duty, you got to get off duty. When you're told you're not allowed to drive, you've got to pull off. You got to find a safe place to park, and you got to take your break. So it is highly regulated. And then the other thing, when it comes to the industry, like I said, being highly regulated, drugs and alcohol. Random testing all the time. If you're in an accident, even if it's not your fault, somebody else hits you, you're going to go to mandatory, you know, testing immediately after that accident. So it is absolutely 100% drug-free when it comes to alcohol. DUI laws change for people that have a CDO. All right. What's the DUI limit right now? 0.08. 0.08. For me, it's 0.04. Even in my own personal car. That means I can't go out to dinner and have a nice steak dinner and Outback and have a beer with my dinner. I'll get pulled over for a DUI. I can't have a hangover and drive a car, or else I'll get a DUI. All right, so it's very, very regulated. Last time I had a beer outside of my house was before I got my CDO. The day I got my CDO, you know, like I said, I won't even have beer with a dinner. you know, unless I'm not driving or, you know, I'm in a hotel somewhere. That's it. So it is very, very regulated from the government. It's not the cowboys of the road like it used to be back in, you know, Grandpa's day. It's very, very professional. But that's why truck drivers get compensated so well. That's why the benefits are there. That's why all the pay is there, is because it is a highly regulated, highly professional industry.
Who'll be the one that, is it the company or is it like the little weigh station? Who'll be the one that tell them to like pull over to get rest?
You've got what's called an e-log system. You know, it's now electronic logs. You've got to keep a log of your on-duty time, your off-duty time, the time you're in your sleeper berth, the time that you're actually driving. We used to maintain all that stuff on paper. Now there's a computer system that's tied into the truck's computer that does all of that for you. And it's all integrated with the company and DOT. All right, so Department of Transportation, weigh stations, regular police officers, you know, they pull you over, and that's another thing. You can be randomly pulled over, you know, by any type of police authority, you know, Department of Transportation, for an inspection at any time, you know, while you're operating a CMV. So you're driving down the road, you're doing absolutely nothing wrong. Next thing you know, you got whoop whoop right behind you, and you're pulling over, and you're getting everything out for them, because they're going to check either, you know, just your logs, you know, license, registration, insurance type of stuff. You know, they might just come in and check logs, do a walk around in the truck to see if everything's in good operating order, or they'll do what's called a level 1, you know, where they're going to go through your truck and trailer and equipment with a fine-tooth comb, checking for any type of mechanical deficiency. So again, guys, this is not just fly by night, hop in the car and go for, you know, a road trip down to the Outer Banks. You know, this is very, very, very. So when it comes to the hours of service, drivers are planning their clocks. They're making sure that they've got enough drive time and on-duty time to make it from point A to point B without going, quote, into violation. If you do go into violation, overdrive your hours, or you don't take a long enough a break, that computer system will tell. That computer system is going to tell the company, in which case you're going to have the company safety officer or your dispatcher give you a call saying, hey, what's going on, why do you violate? And, you know, it's also going to tell any DOT officer that comes up and does an inspection. They pull that up, they see that you're in violation, they'll put you out of service, which means you're going to get stuck there for, you know, your 10-hour break and have to shut down and go like this, waiting for that 10 hours to expire. So it is very, very regulated. That's the one thing, is that as a driver these days, you don't have to worry about being told to go make it happen and violate the regulations and the law to make it happen. You know, so there's none of that that goes on anymore. That was the whole point of the electronic logbooks, is to make sure that drivers weren't fudging the paper logs, making it look like they were doing it the right way, in which case, you know, they were actually operating illegally. Anything else? That's it?
The schools around here, for application's sake, what does it take to, do you know how to apply for those schools, or?
You know, the first step would be, you know, just getting in touch with, like I said, the two local schools would be TCS Tech or Newcastle School of Trades. But there's other schools in the area that might be a little bit further out, depending upon where you guys live. But if you're a local, those are the two closest major schools here. It would just be reaching out to them, finding out what their requirements are. As far as getting enrolled into a program, it's like talking to any other school. You know, they've got admissions representatives. They're going to talk to you about why you're looking at getting into the program. What they want to determine is, are you going to be employable in the industry? No sense of you investing time and money and effort into pursuing a CDL, going through their school, and you're not hireable for, you know, whatever reason, because that actually hurts them, because they've got reporting requirements for financial aid and things like that through the accreditation agencies out there. So we'd be sitting down with them and finding out what all is required on your part. The biggest thing is gonna be funding. And like I said, they're regular post-secondary schools, so they've got the full gamut of funding options available to you. And then there's also, like I said, there's training grant money out there for in-need careers. Trucking is definitely one of those in-need careers. So there's a lot of ways to get that paid for. That's actually how I got my CDL. I'm from Pennsylvania, so I went through the Pennsylvania Career Link. It took me personally about 60 days to go through all of the requirements. I had to take this test, this evaluation. I had to meet all these different requirements, but I got a training grant that paid for my school 100%. And that included, all the fees involved, the testing, rental fees, the cost for the physical exams, whole 9 yards. It was paid for 100%. So I was able to go ahead and do that and come out debt-free with my CDL license. So, there are those opportunities out there, but the first step would be just contacting the actual institution first and sitting down with them and seeing what all options are available to you.
Do your physical condition have to be all the way up to par?
Yes, it's highly, again, highly regulated. It's a Department of Transportation physical. The biggest things there that they're looking for is peripheral vision, color blindness, blood sugar, hearing. Did I say vision? Those are really the biggest things right there. I mean, you've got to have a good peripheral. You've got to be able to hear. You cannot be colorblind and operate a CMV. You can't have glasses, but your vision has to be correctable to 20/40 or better. Things like diabetes, you can have high blood sugar, but it has to be able to be regulated. Things like sleep apnea. If you have sleep apnea and a CPAP machine, that's fine as long as it's regulated. Those aren't things that'll stop you from getting a physical. But yeah, you've got to be able to take the physicals.
Does your company hire felons?
Case by case, and that's going to be the case with a lot of companies. It's not an automatic disqualifier by any stretch of the imagination. It's just going to be a case by case basis when it comes to that. Anything else? You guys got some good questions. I see some wheels turning, thinking, maybe, guys, I'm telling you, if you even think it's a possibility, what do you got to lose by looking into it? Right. You might be really seriously pleasantly surprised. Like I said, it's a totally different type of opportunity where you're literally in the driving seat. Pardon the bad pun there, but it's true. When it comes to employment, all the opportunities are out there. You just got to have those realistic expectations. If you think, hey, I'm 23 and I got my CDL license, I'm going to go get a job making $24 an hour, I want to be home every night right out of school. Yeah, that's not going to happen. All right? I'll be the first one to tell you that. Anybody that tells you otherwise, they're blowing smoke somewhere. All right? Those opportunities are out there, but you've got to be in the industry for a little while. Like I said, a year, 2, 3 years, so that verifiable experience in order to qualify for those type of opportunities. But they're there. They are there.
Do you guys have a dog policy?
Our company, yes. We lease most of our trucks, which means we turn them in after a 5-year cycle, 500,000 miles. Trying to turn in a truck that's had a pet in it is virtually impossible without incurring a lot of costs. So typically, we don't allow any pets inside of our vehicles unless it is a service animal, like along the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Well, that's what my wife's dog, her Pomeranian, she's a service dog for depression and anxiety.
Pomeranians are actually dogs. I always thought those things were sort of like a cat hybrid. That big, all teeth and fur.
But yeah,
But yes, ADA, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got to have the paperwork, this, that, and the other, but yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's because that's what they did at Falcon too, you're not supposed to have a dog unless it's a service animal, and it can only be after 6 months you can take one with you.
Yeah, ours doesn't even, it doesn't even have that 6 month,
No.
identifier on it. It's just, it's gotta be registered service animal, we've gotta register all the paperwork.
Okay.
We hire a lot of veterans, so that's a pretty common thing with PTSD. I mean, I'm a veteran myself, you know, and I think last count, almost 25% of our drivers were veterans.
Yep.
So it's getting to be a little more common. Of course, I'm sure that they could probably, you know, I'm not an HR guy, so, you know, I don't know all the particulars, but I'm sure that there's some sort of exotic whatever qualifier when it comes to that, but yeah, your Pomeranian would be fine. Just get suction cups to it, and put it on his feet, and stick it to the windshield. Anything else? Okay. Guys,